Iran, in the time I was born, was very much traditionalist. Men were not supposed to have anything to do with the arts, especially with music. My father, his attitude was, "You love the piano?" I said, "Oh, yes, I love it." He said, "Very good. I'll get somebody to play it for you." My mother loved films very much. She would take me. And the first time I ever heard Beldi, the aria from Butterfly, was my beloved Diana Durbin. She sang it in the film called First Love. In the 40s, Hollywood had fantastic composers because all of them had run away from the Nazis. So my introduction to the Western music, especially the symphonic music and the vocal music and all that, was through the Hollywood films. My father had decided I was going to become a doctor, but I was a very bad pre-med student. My foreign student advisor said, "Mr. Mansouri, you really cannot only go to the classes you like." I said, "Why don't you take a class that has no homework?" And I said, "Is there such a class?" He said, "Yes, why don't you take a voice class?" And I was warming up in one of the practice rooms, and a young gentleman came in and said, "Our tenor just got drafted, and we need you." And believe it or not, that's then where I met Carol Burnett. We were doing these gigs. It was Carol and myself and this accompanist. And little by little, of course, my concentration was really more on music and on performance than on my pre-meds. I got a letter from my father with a one-way ticket back to Iran. I felt I was so drawn to what I was doing that if I went, it was like committing suicide. I turned in my ticket. I got some money for it, paid some of my debts, and then I went independent.
The hard part about Lotfi as a director is that you can never do what he does, because he'll show you, and it's perfect. He lands on his heels at the right moment. It's just perfect.
As a stage director, I was working like hell to motivate every nuance of every line, and the audience didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So we were watching The Ring on television, my wife and I, and because on television there's the titles. She said, "You know, Lotfi, this is not as dumb as I thought it was." All of a sudden the lamp dying, you know, I said, if they do it in the cinema, why can we not do it in the theater? I decided to test this process with a production of Electra.
This was a seemingly simple idea fraught with possible error and mistakes and accidents.
And I remember from Houston going up and seeing that because all of us were fascinated with the possibility.
And then, of course, I got blasted. They call it the plague from Canada. I had vulgarized opera, but I didn't give a damn because all of a sudden, your audience was involved.
And I said, bang, we're doing it. And Beverly Sills said, bang, we're doing it at the New York City Opera.
When the audience then started accepting it, I think the critics had to accept it.
It's the nature of the art form, isn't it, that you are transformed, and it's easier to be transformed when you know what's going on.
His motto was always, opera is for everybody. And he made sure that not only did we bring everybody into the opera house or give them an opportunity to come into the opera house.
What he does in that office, I have no idea. I think it's a huge cauldron of magic, and he just stirs up magic.
My very first year as general director, we had a major earthquake. It was a wonderful beginning.
There were a lot of naysayers who said it would be the end of the company. So he used every resource to make it the most imaginative, creative, adventurous thing for everybody involved.
The life of the company went on virtually unceasing during that horrid period.
I wanted to do it for new audiences. I wanted to tell people, take a chance, take a risk. I felt that opera in America had suffered a little bit. Everybody thought it was very much of a European art form. I felt that America should have its own voice. You have such fabulous plays.
Lotfi called me and offered me as an idea a streetcar, and I said, listen, before you hang up, I've already said yes. We don't have to check anything, you don't have to do anything, I'll do it.
Streetcar was one of my dreams. I felt that Blanche Dubois could rival Lucia, could rival Violetta.
When we talked about cast, and I said, well, I mean, let's play the game of if you didn't have any contract problems, if you didn't have any money problems, who would you want? I'd say Renee Fleming. He said, don't go away, I'll call you back. And he called me back the next day and he said, okay, we got her. There have been over 20 different productions. And for a new opera, that's amazing. And none of that would have happened without him.
He would get behind with all his heart and soul a young composer who had never done an opera.
I got a call in my office and I brought my pad ready to write the next press release. And he said, let's put the pad down and let's talk about your opera.
But she wouldn't stop screaming.
Lots of what Lotfi has done has been based on his sheer instinct.
He's so passionate about the art form that his battle was always to push it to the next level. Let's bring opera into the future, kicking and screaming.
He's a believer. He believes in the idea, and he is an innovator as well. So I don't think that naysayers really frighten him or scare him. He just convinces them.
Anyone in the business just adores Lotfi. Lotfi Mansouri is one of the great human beings of all time. It's one thing to understand human nature. It's another thing to like it.
Opera developed before my time, and opera's going to develop after my time. And I've loved the evolution of opera in America because I think what has happened, which I think it's a wonderful sign for the art form, Americans are finally finding their own voice in opera.